Okay, so it is 1 o'clock. I talked to my builder because we have a mouse. Let me turn this light on. Hold on, that's a lot of face. I've been seeing mice outside. It's cold. I get that. Not my problem when it comes to a mouse. I don't need you in here. Yes, we have plenty of cats to take care of the issue if they were to come in, but I don't want them to come in. I don't want them to do the damage that they do. None of that, right? Um, so yeah, that's a thing. This house here has had a history with mice in the past, and of course the foundation has some slight holes in it or areas that are worn out. So I told my builder I need for you to come and fix issues because I just now patched up a hole. I need for him to fix around the vent areas. I need a lot of work done because I'm not into mice. Definitely not into rats or any of that. And when I was out there fixing that hole, one jumped out of the garden. Nope, not my thing. I'm not afraid of mice. I just don't like for things to jump out at me. It's just not my thing. The whole jump scare thing, I hate. I don't like. I don't like those. Scary movies are cool, and unless there's something that just boom jumps right out in front of you, just not my thing. But anyway, it's not what we're here to talk about. The question is, should Tacoma go on its own and build its own transportation system? And when I'm talking transportation, I'm not talking about buses or BRT or any of that. What I'm referring to is, should Tacoma go on its own and build its own rail system to move its people around? And I bring that question up because as this population grows more and more and more, Tacoma's growing pretty fast. The county is growing really fast, Pierce County. And when you look at Pierce County, there's not a lot of rail options. I mean, the Sounder has basically three stops in Pierce, no, four stops in Pierce County, to my understanding. Puyallup is one, Tacoma is two, the South Tacoma location is three, and then Lakewood's four. Those are the four stops that it has. That's cool, but it really does not do what it needs to do, right? Because a lot of the growth is in other areas that Sound Transit does not touch and that they're never going to touch. Seattle has the heavy rail, which is the Sounder. They also have a streetcar system, which, if you can call it that, they have a streetcar two lines, right? And they also have the Link light rail system that runs through and connects every place. And even Bellevue has more of a nice system than what we're ever going to have in Tacoma. We're never going to get what we deserve in Tacoma as far as Sound Transit goes, in my small opinion. And I say that because it just, I think a lot of people feel that way, right? We're never going to get our due justice. But that doesn't mean that all is over. There is an opportunity for Tacoma to really focus on the existing rail lines that we do have that radiate from the Dome District. The Dome District, as you may know, is where all of our transit options are connected. The city bus system, as well as regional buses, come in. Those from Pierce County, those from up in King County as well, and Thurston County. So you have Pierce Transit, that's where they operate one of their hubs or main hub. You also have some from King County that basically Sound Transit. And then you also have Thurston County. They bring their bus up here. We have Greyhound that's connected there, right? We have, was it Bolt Bus? I don't know. One of those others are here, right? Amtrak, the station is, and then of course the big parking garages. We have two of those large parking garages. There is talk of fixing the bus station down there to be something else and all the other stuff. Fine. Sound Transit's also going to expand parking and stuff down there too. Fine. All that I'm for, as well as access to bikes and all that. I think it's great. They also have Amtrak, which shares a station there, which we have two different lines for Amtrak. We also have the Sounder commuter rail that I talked about. And then we have a Tacoma Link light rail train, which is a streetcar that goes all the way from the Dome District into Hilltop. Okay? But with all that said, we don't have a lot of downtown connectivity for a city of our size. And we also don't have a lot of our own suburbs connected to Tacoma that well either. And even though the Tacoma Link does connect certain areas, it connects basically what's referred to as the Downtown Regional Growth Center, which is downtown, the Dome District, Stadium District, basically. Parts of the Brewery District, if you will, kinda. It's on the border of that. Hillside and then Hilltop, right? That's the route. But it does not connect the waterfront, which is growing in importance. And soon there's going to be, right across the bridge, there's going to be students, because there will be a high school built there. There is going to be where the port has their main headquarters, all in that general vicinity. If Tacoma wants to have a mass transit system that connects suburbs from Steilacoom all the way to, say, Graham or Frederickson, we could easily do that. We could easily do that. The infrastructure is there. We could easily do that. And when we look at these areas, some of them are smaller cities. Steilacoom is very small. It doesn't have 10,000 people yet. But these are areas that are growing, and they are known for tourism. We have the whole entire northeast side, which is growing very fast, right? You have to really account for not only today, but what's going to happen in 10 years. We already know by 2040, the city is making plans for 140-something thousand people, 90,000 jobs. So we have to have better connectivity. And if you think about it, building systems from the ground up, putting the track in, all the stuff is very expensive, costing hundreds of $millions a mile. And nobody's got time for that. If you look at Sound Transit, today they're saying big news. We've established the West Line. It's going to be 4 miles, but who knows when that's going to be built. And the needs of West Seattle are going to change drastically from now up until when that's built in 2040 or whatever. Tacoma. Yes, Sound Transit's going to eventually build down here, but it's going to be 2030 something. It was supposed to be 2030, I think. Then it went to 2031, I think 2032. It's probably going to keep going, right? This is not a priority, unfortunately, for Sound Transit. And yet our community is growing very, very fast, much faster than Bellevue. So we have to figure out a solution. And given the fact that there's already existing rail on both sides, mostly used for cargo, then why not do what other cities have done and use those rail lines for a local light rail system? Nothing grandiose. We don't have to build the Taj Mahal of stations like what Seattle does. We don't have to do that. That's not the type of city we are, and really we need to build based on functionality and not style and pretty, right? We need to build stations that have a basic platform, a covering up above, places for you to sit, places for you to throw away trash. It would be cool to have a place where you can plug in your tablet or phone and charge it while you're waiting, and covered. Partially covered. A good example of this is if you look in San Diego, one of my favorite cities. Anyway, if you look at their system that they have, their light rail system, the stations are very basic. And it serves a city that's much busier than Seattle in terms of just everything. So it can be done. And there's plenty others. That Portland, basic stations, it's all about functionality, right? And as this region grows faster and denser, we have to figure things out, because eventually it's going to get to the point of where we have no options. If some of these lines are torn up to make way for a trail, which is not going to be used that much, people are going to have concerns about safety. There's talks of turning the line over there into a trail, a walking path. and for miles on end. And the thing with that is that other cities have done that. Indianapolis has done that with the Monon Trail, and you end up where people are afraid to use it because it's not patrolled. There's a lot of trees, high points, low points, corners you can't see, and all it takes is one instance for people to be afraid. I don't think that's the best use of money to basically rip up millions of dollars worth of fresh track that the city has put taxpayer money into just for a trail. I just don't, it doesn't make sense. In some places in the world and in the country, it makes sense. This is not one of them. And again, it's a vanity. I see trails really in an urban setting as a vanity project if they're not done correctly. Now, with that said, Indianapolis, when you look at their trail system that they've done, it has incorporated a lot. It's a lifestyle, right? But they also have it where all the other trails mimic each other, and it's a cohesive, artistic trail. Tacoma is not going to do that. If you look at the trails that are planned and they're working on, it's build the trail and be done. These are no different than a paved path with dirt and trees around you, and that's it, right? There's nothing about these that bring culture, none of that. It's just a trail, and nothing against it. But I think that when you look at a county of 1 million people almost, a city of almost 230,000 and growing, we don't have a lot of transit options that are going to be this simple, this easy, this fast to do, that's not going to cost hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars to do. I think it's just a simple equation. So to me, especially when you get farther and farther out and you're getting places like Frederickson, which is growing exponentially fast. I mean, this was nothing. You go down there now and look at what's going on. Look at Graham, 30,000 people. It needs access. So I don't think that having a trail is the best use of funds to rip up all the track, which costs money. So not only did it cost money to put the track and update and fix everything and do the things that they did, now we're going to come through, tear all that up, whatever cost that is, just for people to walk down it. And it's not going to be used as often as people may think. This is not Ruston where you have that, that whole thing. That makes sense. You're walking to a destination, you have scenic views. This is not scenic views. This is where you're basically in the bottom looking around, and it invites encampments as well. It takes one encampment for people to not feel safe. Then you have basically a multi-million-dollar path, that does nothing. So the best thing to do is to build infrastructure where you have connectivity and you have a lot of other things that you can do with that, and it really helps more people, thousands of more people, and the city's growth all at the same time, and you're not spending huge sums of money. This isn't going to be cheap, but it's also not going to take nearly as long as what Sound Transit does. It's not going to cost nearly as much as what Sound Transit does, and you're able to probably do a whole lot more miles for just the cost of what it would take for 1 mile of what Sound Transit does up in Seattle, and you would still have a light rail system. You don't need to have electrification to have a light rail system. You don't. So it to me, there are opportunities here that make a lot of sense. Now, the city is going to have a person come and say what should be done with the system and all that, and blah, blah, blah. I get that. But the longer we wait to do studies and feel goods and all that, the cost keeps going up, and it's a waste of money. Because the reason why it's a waste of money for someone to come and tell you, what are opportunities for this rail track? And mainly there's only so much you can do. Either A, you just leave it and let it fall apart. B, you rip everything up and basically allow a trail to happen. C, you keep it in use for train traffic, whether it's cargo or passenger and cargo, which is what it should be. So those are your options, and that money can be saved for other studies that have to be done, environmental studies and reviews and all of the years long of red tape, right, that have to be done. So to me, the better use of funds is on that. and basically say, look, this is what we need to do. But I understand due diligence has to be done. The city wants to make sure that they cover their own ass, and that makes sense. They want to make sure that they go through, have a certified organization that basically says, hey, these are the options, this is the benefits. I get it. I get it. But it's going to take political muscle to really make this happen. And I do think that a train system is probably your best use for this area. And the stations are not buildings like what you see in Tacoma. Some people here are going to think, Westlake Station. They're going to think that the University of Washington stations, where it's this deep tunnel and you go down. No, we're not doing that. What I'm referring to are things like the MAX without the electrification. I'm looking at things like Salt Lake City's light rail system without the electrification, where you have basic stations, you have connectivity. In Tacoma, we could probably create 2 lines, one on the west, one on the east, and we're able to connect very important places. That, to me, makes a lot of sense. Not only from getting people all the way to Steilacoom or beyond if you need to, but Tacoma would be able to control its own destiny. People in Pierce County can control their own destiny and say, this is what we want. Right now, the concern is how much more can the existing roadways take? I have a doctor that is down in Frederickson. I have a dermatologist that's over in Puyallup. And to be honest with you, traffic sucks. It sucks. And no, the train can't go everywhere that everyone wants to go. But the point is that it relieves some pressure. That's the whole point. Some people feel like if the train doesn't pull right up by their front door, they don't want it. That's just highly unrealistic. What's more realistic is that trains help, because there will be park-in rides. It helps people park their car, take a train in, and you have less people on the overall roads and arteries that are around your area, so that traffic and parking are not as bad as they would be and how they are currently now. That's the whole point behind it. It's not for everyone to have a personal, chauffeur. It's designed for a community to be connected so that those who can use this or want to use this or are able to use this are able to do so, and it helps alleviate a lot of the traffic that you see on the streets and highways in that area. So, to me personally, I think that Tacoma should show Sound Transit how it's done. You could probably get a system started, even running all the tests and all the stuff. You would probably be able to do this in, 5 years? Because most of that's the review and the testing stuff. Construction of stations, they're probably all done mostly at the same time, would probably take a year to do. We're not talking a lot of stations here. We're talking maybe at most 5, 6 on one side, 5, 6 on the other. If that other is built, build one first. Start with the east side, build your 5 or 6 stations that are basic platforms that are not that expensive. Build a platform where a tiny town says, you know what, that wasn't that expensive to build. If you look at the existing link stations we have downtown, that type of station would work. Very basic. It serves the purpose. It serves the point. It doesn't have to be something that's crazy. And I don't think that we should hire Sound Transit to do it or even ask them to do it. I think it's something that Tacoma should do and that we should manage, whether it is done by Pierce Transit and Pierce Transit has to make sure that the timeline's not 50 years before they do something else. It has to be quick and done. Or hire or create a nonprofit entity that's designed to deal with transit and that's focused on the rail transit side of things. Focused being somewhat of a quasi-governmental entity that is only Pierce County and Tacoma based folks that are on that board. That's how you get it done. I don't know, tell me what your thoughts are. Should Tacoma actually start its own rail system light rail system and focus on building each segment at a time. And then, if need be, it can always expand those lines. Keep in mind that those lines can always be expanded, or you can add to them, because some of those tracks veer off someplace else. You can literally have several different lines. Two different lines can be on one track system. You see that in many places, right? So instead of having the blue and the green line, you may have the blue, green, and orange line, because the blue and the orange share most of the track system up until a certain point, and then they separate. You never know. Tell me what your thoughts are. Make sure that you like, share, and comment. Until next time, and subscribe. Did I say that? Until next time, I will see you. Take care.